Welcome to another episode of Bamhek TV. I appreciate you for being here. I have spent a couple of days pretty quiet going inside because there has been a lot of downloads that I have been receiving. I just been listening and trying to process what I have been receiving in my moments of silence, quiet, and meditation. This message, I want to say, is urgent in my heart. I am not one to spread fear. The opposite, I spread courage. Not one to spread poverty. The opposite, I try to spread abundance. This message is just about that. It's been very strong in my heart, the knowing that there are huge changes coming forth for humanity. As you already know, in my message, if you follow me and if it's your first time watching, give it a like, share, subscribe. But if you follow me now for a time, you'll know that I consider myself an extension of the creator, of God. Therefore, creator of my own life, of my own decisions, and therefore creator of my own reality, because I believe that consciousness dictates reality. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, about getting into the frequency of the highest love possible, of the highest courage possible. I don't have to tell you, you don't have to watch the news, but if you do, I don't. I sometimes peek here and there just for business purposes to see what the markets are doing and geopolitics and all that. So if you watch the news, hopefully you don't. You're not into it as much as I'm not into it. But the world is just war after war, tremor after tremor, earthquake, all these volcanoes, earth tired of the misuse of its resources. So if you just look at what's out there without what I'm feeling inside, you'll see that there is something brewing. I have had visions of the end of the cycle ending as well, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about you, how you position yourself in courage, in unconditional love, in resilience to face the times ahead. I was speaking to my son today about this same thing. He does sales in the West Coast and he does door-to-door sales. So I was telling him how an attitude towards what's in front of you is the most important, because if you say you're doing sales or anything in life, you get hit with a no. With his example, you go knocks on the door and they shut the door on him and tell him, no, we don't want your stuff, get out of here. It kind of does something to your emotions, right? It's kind of, you try not to take it personal, but in sales, you got to learn how to take rejection and a hard thing and don't let it affect your internal compass, which is what shows the confidence that you have in your skill set. Same with life. When life hits you on one side, on the ribs, we tend to stop, right? Life is about motion, and that's when the word depression comes into play, because to me depression means to be in deep rest. It's the same word. You're in deep rest, therefore you're not moving at the same speed or at the same rate as everything else is around you. Your cells don't stop moving because your consciousness decided to stay still. So this message is urgent about checking your interior compass and realizing where in your life, this is the same thing I'm doing, where in my life am I lacking on unconditional love. Unconditional love to me is, and this is very important because we cannot change what's happening outside of us. And that's the reason I talked about me being the creator of my experience, is because your environment can always change. You can change internally to adjust to that environment. And that's what successful human has done. We have evolved to our environment. Right now, we seek comfort more than anything. But we had Mikey Breves in our second episode, the last episode that we did. I Been the Obi podcast at a perfect time, because Mikey Breves talks about having the energy internally, being aware of your internal energy to the point that the guy don't eat for 70 days. He supplies even his physical body with the energy that sustains him from within. And then obviously takes energy from the sun, from the earth, and all natural things that are there to give us energy. So this message is for all of us to check our interior compass and see where our energy is being diluted. One of the things that dilute our energy to a great level is emotions. Our emotions is actually what, when you have a very hard emotional day, how you feel drained. People say working with the mind is way more exhausting than physical labor. I agree, because when the emotions are being used with a lot of output without replenishing, really your body feels the physical effects of that. There are other things that eat at our energy, and one of those is staying with emotions of the past, right? I'm pleading with you and asking you from the bottom of my heart, search your heart and find where there are emotions that are holding you back. I have a comment from one of my followers, a new follower, and she told me that she went through a very horrifying experience and she's finding it very hard for her to forgive that person. I think it'll be a little callous of me and insensitive to ask her to do that from a physical perspective, but from a spiritual perspective, which is what we are. We are spirit souls, spirit and soul. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we're souls that make decisions fueled by that spirit, which is what gives life to everything, living in a physical body, in a physical experiment called life on earth. So it'd be callous from that standpoint to tell, forgive him, forget about it. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying search your heart and find a place of peace within yourself with the situations that happened in the past, and in her case, not a far past. Look inside right now. It's optimal for the continued growth of your soul to do that. Because when the shit hit the fan, which is what we're experiencing right now for America and for the whole world, right? The end of a cycle, it's here. It's very close. I'm telling you that from knowledge, from wisdom, knowings of the other side and of this side. Not to give you fear, but to prepare you for what's going to happen. What's going to happen is those who match a different frequency are going to experience a different reality for themselves. Those who choose to continue to move away from unconditional love and stay distracted by the things that don't profit the growth of the soul will remain in a different frequency that includes a lot of turmoil, a lot of pain, a lot of experiences for growth. It's not final, but you can spare yourself a lot of heartache by choosing to raise your frequency to that of unconditional love. I spoke about the Creator in many of my previous videos. Something happened to me a while ago where I completely tried to ignore that being, that consciousness that some people call God, some people call whatever you call it, the Creator, the architect. It's a separate entity that holds spirit, that holds everything that is in its thought and consciousness. So what happened was I, at one point, believed myself to be separate from that through religion. The teachings that they gave me through religion, it's not what Jesus was giving us. It's not what other ascended masters were giving us. They were trying to give us that mindset of unity, being one with that Creator. And I detached myself from that consciousness. I experienced complete, hopelessness, right? So another thing that I want to exhort you to do is find help from that greater consciousness that always holds you on your true identity, which is one of unity and unison with it, right? Praying, commanding with your words, not one word that come out of your lips asking for help goes unnoticed. Not one goes unanswered. I did that. About a year ago, I needed help. And I went in my bathroom, and I've spoken about that before. I asked for help. I called upon the name of Yeshua, which is Jesus, the real name of Jesus. Jesus is an amazing figure in history. And his goal was to teach us about salvation. And salvation and repentance, what it means is changing your way of thinking. Because when you change your way of thinking, when you make that decision that they used to call accept that consciousness as your Lord and Savior, what that really means is that, and I'm not speaking religion here, please don't get me wrong. I'm using that because that's my point of reference, right? When I call upon that consciousness, upon that being, it showed up in my bathroom. And it was very clear. It told me, do what is for you to do. Shone the light back on me. Do your part. I did my part. Now you do your part. The other day I was deep in practice in the out-of-body state. And again, I wasn't asking for it, but it showed up. That same energy of Yeshua and spoke to me and told me, do you remember? And I felt it, heard it, everything in to explain to you how it went. My consciousness, my body was so active that my body couldn't go to sleep, but my consciousness elevated to where I could see darkness and almost like a night sky, and it had clouds and it was dark. And all of a sudden everything illuminated, and I could see this energy of Yeshua, of Jesus, whatever you call him, translucent. And it told me, do you remember? And I said, yes. And again, repeat it. Do what is for you to do. Do what's yours to do. So what that means to me is share the message of unity. If there's somebody in your life that you feel that you have a little thorn in your heart for them, that you have this little feeling, let go of that feeling, because that's that energy that you hold in your heart for that person. If you're greedy, share your food. If you're jealous, be grateful for the things that you have. That's what's for me to do. If you are experiencing poverty in your heart, look at all the abundance that's around you. What's for me to do is to continue to make these videos and continue to love on my family and connect with my children, because life is not about the huge steps. It's about the day-to-day life that you choose to live. I'm calling upon all of you to elevate your way of thinking so that when it's time for us to move into this next stage of creation, by your choice and by your own doing and accepting wisdom from where it's coming, you come out of your ignorance. Like I'm coming out of mine in many ways. I'm still ignorant to many things, but for all of us to come out of our ignorance in identity and decide to unify with the creator of it all, which is the supreme creator, that creators that put this design for this for us, and unite in that consciousness, in that spirit, in that love. Because what's happening right now is, and I'm telling you this from personal experience, there is multiple beings that live in multiple frequencies on this realm and in the realm next to this, and they come in and out of this realm, and they have manipulated and dominated the collective mind of humanity to fulfill their purposes in extracting energy out of earth. And they're rogue. They are beings that moved away from unconditional love so far out that have taken their own identities completely separate from that. So some of them are moving out of that spectrum of light, which is darkness, into a lighter spectrum of light, which is more bright, and others are moving in that direction. And you need to look today at your life and say, in which way am I moving towards either side of the spectrum? This is not a joke. This is where we find ourselves today as a body, because you and I are one. You and I are made out of the same exact fabric as well as all of creation. But because of our own identity that was given to us when we were created, we have made decisions over our whole creation to match up certain frequencies. Find unconditional love in your heart. Do not allow for ignorance of identity to take over your vision, your sight. Practice unconditional love in all of your ways. You're going to have to learn to be generous. You're going to have to learn to be forgiving. Not many things shake me inside anymore, because I have learned to be at peace with what is. I am so at peace with what is right now that it's not even funny. But there is a sense of urgency within me to put this message out there. I don't have specifics. I don't want to give you specifics. I have some specifics. I don't think they're pertinent for this conversation, because there are certain markers that your consciousness and my consciousness cannot override, period. In the grand scheme of things outside of you, right? But inside of you, which is what projects your consciousness, you can do that. You can decide to be at a frequency greater than what the base is. Spirit and soul. I'm going to talk about that for 1 second. Soul is the identity that calls on action for that particular creation. So I have a name that I know it's inside me. I known it for eons, and I know it. I didn't know it. In this life, I was named Hector by my mom and dad, but my soul has its identity. When you come to earth, there's a blanket of forgetfulness that you won't enter. When you enter through the waters, instantly you fall under that forgetfulness. That's what this channel is all about. It's to bring clarity back, to help you remember who you truly are. A lot of that happens when you interact with life, when you look at the signs that life is giving you in your soul. I was talking to my 85-year-old friend who just lost his wife, and he tells me, there are certain things that I do and that I know that I don't know why I do them, but I just do them. And I know they're the right thing to do inside me. Such as practicing the outer body. Like this guy already sits there for hours quiet. He didn't know anything about this. He's my friend and all, but he hasn't checked out my tutorials on exiting the body. But he's already experiencing sleep paralysis, everything. I told him, now all you have to do is switch your consciousness to remember the experience. But just like him, you also have certain affinities. Your soul is pushing you in a direction, and you have to take that direction. Such as myself, the brain, the aspect, the memories of your biology always take you in a different direction. So a tug of war between the soul that knows its purpose to come here and the mind that has gotten tricked into thinking that it's all about the material aspect of this life. Let me challenge you real quick. If life is about the material aspects of this life, which are very important to your experience, but if life was all about that, then why don't you take anything with you? Why is it that the only thing that you leave behind is your legacy? What you left behind for the people behind you, for your family, for those who followed your example, right? So there is a deeper truth about what you came here to do that we just don't explore it because we have forgotten. So when the soul remember what that purpose is to pay attention to those things that continue to show up in your life. Pay attention to your pain, to your struggle, to your victory. Pay attention to the things that you have overcome. Let the story of your soul project its max expression while you're here. Like I said, you don't have to have a channel like me. You don't have to change the world like others have. You start with your own internal compass, with your own peace. You start with finding the places where you are not here and you get to the present, and then you'll find peace. You go in the silence and you'll access. These are the ways that you remember, right? First, you look at your life. You look at the people that's been around you and how do they interact with you, right? You start there. You start in here, home. And then you look to your immediate surroundings and observe. I hope this information is applied, because we can hear anything, but until we apply the information, it's not power. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge turns into power. So don't take this video and watch it at 2x speed, and no. Make notes of what's making sense to you and meditate on that. At first, look at the people that has been placed in your life to create certain challenges that weren't meant to be done to you, but were meant to be done for you. Even the experience, as horrifying as it may be, it was meant for your soul growth. So it is time, dear beloved brothers and sisters, because you're more than my friends. You are another organism of me. It's time for us to remember what the soul came to do. Do it while you can do it willingly, which is now. Right now is the time to decide to forgive, to decide to speak up, to decide to focus on the things that will profit the soul. You do not take any material aspect of this life with you. Therefore, all of them are irrelevant. What's of most importance is what your soul decides to take with it and leave behind in a form of a legacy. That could be a memory, a feeling that you leave behind on someone. There's people in your life that you got great memories about, and it's because they left their love imprint in you. There's going to be times where we're going to have to share our last with someone else. Do that today. Doesn't matter how great your bank account looks, if it's all there and there's other people in need around you and you see that need and decide not to address it. It's time for generosity to bloom within your heart. It's time for courage to be yourself, to come through all the layers and lies of what you're not. It's time for you to tell your story first to yourself, accurately and insightfully and truthfully. This is who I am, and I am proud of that which I am. And I will continue to celebrate who I am. This is an urgent message for humanity to start paying attention to what matters most. It's not the external environment, because if you look at that only, you'll go crazy. It's about the internal environment. How am I growing through this economy? How am I growing through that relationship? How am I growing through this professional career? How am I growing through parenting, through driving, through my physical body? How am I healing myself? Am I speaking words of detriment? Am I ingesting things of detriment? Hey, I'm one of them. I'm not judging. I'm saying I'm refining what my intake is in every sense. I'm still here. I still enjoy things of this earth. I like watching a basketball game once in a while. I like playing a little chess once in a while. Now, you're not going to catch me going out there and getting drunk, getting high, abusing my body. But even these lights are an abuse to the natural way things were made. So we're exposed to them, but in consciousness, decide to love on yourself. The conversation with Mikey was really, especially after we finished our podcast, Mikey Breves and Andre the Alchemist and myself had another conversation after that, and he was blunt to me and to Andre. He talked to us really directly, and I'm talking to you directly right now. Which things in your life that are self-hatred? That was such a deep question, and I could find multiple. that in the surface, you preach unconditional love all day. In the surface, they look harmless. But really, self-love is the inability to harm yourself. It starts there. Everybody, I love God with all my heart. I love your God with all your heart, all your might, all your strength. Are you loving yourself like that? That's how you show the Creator, which is you, how much you love it, right? I'm not putting myself in the place of the Almighty Creator. I am an extension of that which is, and in turn, one creating directly with it. And that is the purpose of life, to learn energy management. Right now, what I'm calling you to do is start molding all the energies around you, because you're going to need to breathe energy from within. Take deep breaths every moment you remember, because we're going to need those deep breaths to bring in more energy. I hope that you're listening and you're paying attention and you're doing an inventory. Take a pen. It's a little estimate I was looking at today, because you're in this world. You're on this earth. You still have to do what's presented in front of you, the now. I got called to come do this walkthrough in a house, and I went and did it. And I'm in the middle of doing it. But what I'm called to do, what it's mine to do, was to shoot this video. So I stopped that, and I'm speaking to you right now directly. Take a piece of paper and a pen and write down who you are. Break it down by your different roles that you play in this life, because they all have a different aspect of creation and growth for your soul. In each one of them, write insightfully and truthfully who you are. How are you fulfilling those commitments? First to yourself, then to those around you, then to those a little bit further from you, and then start expanding. But start with you. How am I not loving myself fully? Then go down with your spouse and your children and your mom and your siblings, right? If you need anything, if you need any help with any of this that I am talking about, don't ask me about what's going to happen, because the future, though it have its set markers, the future is always a potentiality. If this video hits 100 million views and everybody start thinking and acting with what I'm sharing, trust me, a lot will change, because that's how creative and powerful a human is. So don't ask me about specifics, because I don't know the future. No one knows the exact future, because it's all a potential, and it could be molded by your intention and your ability to use your God-given creative power. Ask me, like I tell my kids, I can't do that. They are like, I can't do that. I said, no, don't say that. Say, how can I do it, right? Yes, you can forgive. Don't say, I can't forgive that person. Say, how? When? Now? How? Look within your heart. Why? Because it's time to let go of anything that hold our energy, our frequency, our consciousness low. There's processes to acceleration. And it all starts with knowing where you are today. It all starts with that inventory about where do I stand today. When you do that, something magical will happen. The next obvious step is going to show up in your reality. My kid, I was talking to my son today about that. He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, you make your current decision based on confidence that you will handle what comes with that decision. The next obvious step is always going to show up, because it's not about how am I going to handle the next step. It's that I am handling the current time to the best of my ability, right? Because tomorrow's not promised. Right now, I can catch a heart attack and die right in front of you. Life is not promised to none of us. Security is not promised to anyone. Everybody else needs walking this house with this guy that have all these investments, this company. Now, we really think that projections and conventional knowledge has all the answers, but nothing is promised. So the only thing that matters is this very moment. Where am I today? How am I doing this very moment? The crazy part about your creative power is that you can change it right now just by thinking a different thought about a situation. You completely change the outcome. Let me repeat that. Just by thinking about the current state of your situation differently than what it really is, you can change the outcome. So if you're looking at your sibling with disdain, with rancor, with hatred, because I at one point hated my brother, my blood brother did me really dirty in a business deal. And I'm using that example because I didn't know what hatred felt like. And I felt that ugliness inside me for my little brother, that if I close my eyes today, I see him as a kid. I never see my brother as an adult that he is today. I still see his little smile following me around. That deep love that I feel for him today was replaced with hatred at some point because he did me dirty, right? And I understand what it is to hate. And other things happened to me: sexually abused, jumped as a kid, shot in the face. This scar that you see right there is part of an attack. A big scar that I have here, it was there and a couple times tried to kill me. My best friend is the one who told on me before I went to prison for 6 years. So I have experienced my share of pain in life, depression, you name it. But I had to reframe my thinking about that situation. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not so much a spiritual act as it is a mental act. Then it affects the soul and the spirit. So look inside you today and find those places where you have these emotions that have been held inside and are draining you of your energy. Because that person that you hate, my brother, with all that money, he went, paid his bills, visit all of Europe, paid his credit card debt, and left me with bankruptcy and horrible credit after that, credit rate, because I had to go bankrupt. I had personal savings that I used on that investment, my own cash, lost that, maxed the credit cards, all of it, right? And he went and lived his life like nothing happened. In his mind, he didn't do nothing wrong, right? So he was happy-go-lucky, and I was here eaten up inside with this feeling. So I had to reframe my mind about what he did. I found a way to forgive him. I said, I'm not going to hold on to that. I need to move on in my soul. I was prompted by a friend of mine that after I did that, I had one of the most magical, holy, gracious experiences of my life. He said, look, until you forgive the people that you have to forgive, there's nothing we could do. And I said, I forgive him. And I found the strength, and I looked at the situation. My other best friend had just betrayed me in a foreign country, left me because we had a disagreement, and he thought he was right, and he wouldn't hear I'm sorry, nothing. He wouldn't hear anything. He's like, fuck you, you stay here all by yourself. I'm gone. I had to forgive him. I'm saying, find the places in your heart, right? This beautiful heart of yours right here. Find that place in the center of your heart and look at it truthfully. I don't like how my camera does that, but that's cool. Look at it truthfully. Search it deeply. Your fears, same thing. What are you afraid of? If you're afraid of what's uncertain, the next step you should be, if you're scared of anything, be scared of the next step and the next one you're about to take. Be scared of driving around. Be scared. If you're going to be scared of being in this room trapped with a venomous spider. Be scared of everything. If you're going to be scared of one thing, be scared of every fucking thing in your life, because nothing is certain. So don't be scared of anything. That's my message. Not be scared of everything, but replace that fear with courage, which is understand that my mind is, you see, everything happens here because this is the apparatus. This is the machine that we inhabit, this brain and this body. Everything happens here. So you have to first change the way you're thinking about everything so that your soul continues to benefit from this experience. So search for your fears. Search for the times where you cheat. Search for the times where you lie, where you steal. All those come from fear. Search your emotions. What am I anxious about? There's no need to be anxious. If you come to this moment right now, again, I'm talking about all this as preparation because it's time for humanity to prepare for a decision making process that will dictate what your next stage is. How do you move to the next stage of creation? Again, if you have any questions, ways to do this, I think I've given it all to you here, but I will answer any questions. Depending on how much this message is spread, know that it is time today. There's urgency in my tone. There's urgency. This message, though I'm very at peace, I understand that it is my work to do to really try to get to the deep part of you and speak to that soul that remembers, let you know, hey, it's time for you to remember. It's time for you to drop everything that held you back. It's time. It is time today to stop playing games and take the next stage seriously. Don't be fooled by the deceivers. They've been deceiving for a long time. Don't be fooled by the deceivers. Find the truth that you can access through spirit. Now, your soul is your ability to make decisions. That's the one that calls the shots in order to commune or come as one. That's what commune means, to come as one with spirit. Spirit is the glue that holds it all together, where the power comes from, what gives you power, what speaks things into existence, what create universes and laws that are universal. I'm not talking about the law, man-made laws to control your pocket and your emotions. No, I'm talking about the law of reciprocity, which is what you put out there. It always has a fruit. The law of friction, which is energy creation. Things have to go through fusion and friction to create energy. Now, I'm no physicist. That this comes from higher realms that I visit. I love you. If no one told you that they love you, I love you. This is urgent. Pass it along. It's a love message. It's not a fear-based message. It's a self-responsibility as a creative soul that I have to do our part. It's not a big deal like quitting your job and doing what. No. Prepare yourself and your family. Make sure that you have the things that you may need if a grocery store doesn't open tomorrow, right? And be aware of your internal compass. If no one told you that they love you today or yesterday or tomorrow, I love you. And I love you because you are lovable and the people around you are lovable. It's time to let go of the limitations, the self-imposed limitations that you have placed in yourself, and it's time to fly. Pick your path today. I love you. Share this message. Please like, comment. Urgent. Very important. I love you so much. Thank you.